So Jason Tatum's dad, this is such an odd report for me. Jason Tatum's dad expects him to be out 8 or 9 months with a torn Achilles. Okay, since when do we get medical updates from somebody's dad? I don't even understand what is ESPN calling Jason Tatum's dad instead of like the team doctors? I don't really understand what's going on there. But 8 or 9 months for an Achilles tear is absolutely unrealistic. That's absolutely unrealistic. Jason Tatum's only 27 years old. He's not rushing back from an Achilles tear. He's not coming back and playing full court NBA basketball in 8 to 9 months. That doesn't even make sense, and I don't really understand why we're getting medical reports from Jason Tatum's dad. But, you know, the whole thing is starting the conversation with the Boston Celtics because the team is being sold, right? They went way over the salary cap with signing all of those players. What they were doing was commendable. I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it. They paid everybody because they said, we dominated the playoffs and won a championship. If we go over the salary cap to win 2 in a row, that's commendable. That's, you know, let's do that. And then we're selling the team and so on. But it didn't happen. You know, Jason Tatum gets the injury. They were already down 3-1. They shot themselves out of the series. They don't win the second ring in a row. They were probably going to make major roster changes this offseason anyway. Now with this Jason Tatum injury, they're not going to be a title contender next season. So what do? The narrative or the, you know, main thing I think NBA fans are talking about is the Boston Celtics trading Jaylen Brown. And I ask you straight up, 350 people in the stream, I ask you, let me know in the chat, Sixers fans specifically, would you make a trade for Jaylen Brown? Yes or no? My take on it is it's complicated. It's complicated. I love what Jaylen Brown brings to a basketball team. Don't get me wrong. But when they paid him $300 million, I was just like, Jaylen Brown's just not a $300 million player. He's not. I just don't see it. You don't think about Jaylen Brown the same way you think about Anthony Edwards, right? I don't look at Jaylen Brown as a superstar. I look at Jaylen Brown as a very athletic, high-level role player, a number 2 or a number 3 on a dominant team as he was last season. Even though he won Finals MVP, I just don't see it. I think he's close. But you don't give Jaylen Brown the ball in the fourth quarter to close out a playoff. Well, I guess they did in the finals. That's why he won Finals MVP. I just don't see Jaylen. Am I crazy? I guess it's just my perception. You just don't give Jaylen Brown the ball and say, "Oh, it's the fourth quarter. Jaylen Brown's about to cook." Like, I just don't get that feeling from Jaylen Brown. But with all of that aside, I would love. I mean, if you're telling me I get Maxey McCain, Jaylen Brown, and we get to move forward. I mean, that's, you know, if it's tough, man. Like, I don't want to trade the number 3 pick in the draft, and I don't think this happens. Again, we're talking hypotheticals, and it's only May, bro. We're about to be tough. We're gonna do some hypotheticals for May, June, July, August, September. Strap in. We got 5 months of hypotheticals on the way. But if my future outlook is Joel Embiid might be close to done playing, Paul George I don't even want to see for a second season. Maxey's 24, Jared McCain's 21, Quentin Grimes is 24. If you would trade the 3rd pick for Jaylen Brown, I guess I'm just saying it wouldn't be that crazy. But they would have to take Paul George also for the salaries to be close, right? And then are you back in the same situation, kind of, because, you'd be back to a guy making $50-60 million a year who sometimes is going to put up 12 points in a loss, and Sixers fans will be on him all the time. And then probably the last couple of years of Jaylen Brown's 5-year Supermax contract, you're going to be trying to trade him again, knowing the way that things go for the Sixers. Also, he's 28, right? He's in his prime right now. He's super athletic. I think he's going to be super athletic for a couple more years. But when do we start to see players slow down? 31, 32, 33. And Jaylen Brown's not the most highly skilled player in the world. He's just super athletic and knows how to use his size and strength to get to the rim, get mismatches in the paint, finish through contact, and he has a damn good three-point shot also. But when his athleticism begins to slow down in his early 30s, then you might be talking about a really, really bad contract for the last 2 years. And you don't make that trade if you're the Sixers unless you think you are a Jaylen Brown away from winning a championship. And are the Sixers a Jaylen Brown away from winning a championship? Hell no, the answer to that is. They're just not. We have to accept that it's almost rebuild time, and we have to draft Ace Bailey at the number 3 spot and move forward. That's what the 76ers need to do. I think our championship window is closed, although Daryl Morey thinks otherwise. And so that is my opinion on the would you trade for Jaylen Brown. What do you guys got in the chat, man? No. People are saying no. No picks and Paul George and Embiid for Brown and a pick? Why would the Boston Celtics give up a pick for Paul George and Joel Embiid and they're giving away Jaylen Brown? Why would they give up a pick also? What, Paul George and Joel Embiid right now have negative value. I would make that trade in a heartbeat. I wouldn't trade the 3rd pick for Brown. I'd for sure trade Paul George or Maxey for him. So if you're not trading the 3rd pick, then you want to draft a player that you can develop over the next 4 or 5 years. So then why would you trade for 28-year-old Jaylen Brown when you can continue to watch 24-year-old Tyrese Maxey's development? I'm just doing math here. Crawley says, I'm not doing it. I don't think it happens anyway. The Sixers aren't in a position to do that. And if Daryl Morey would do that, I guess it wouldn't be that shocking because he's done some wild things. Anyway, that's my opinion on that. Thank you for giving me yours. Green Blaze, thank you for the super chat. Hey, Eastwood, would you be willing to draft Ace Bailey at number 3? Yes. Or trade to number 2 and get Dylan Harper to keep the number 3 pick? What? Would you be willing to draft Ace Bailey at number 3? Or possibly trade to number 2 and get Dylan Harper? Or keep the number 3 pick and go for Jeremiah Fears? The reason Dylan Harper and the reason Ace Bailey and these guys are at the top of the draft is because their potential is the highest in the draft class. Their ceiling is the highest. Again, Ace Bailey is 6'9", 210 pounds, averaged 17 and 7 in college. Did they win the tournament? No. But we're talking about what can he turn into by the age of 24 or 25. And when I compare him to Paul George, or I compare him to Tracy McGrady, or I compare him to Kevin Durant, and you take all of those players, Kevin Durant's, yes, that's a lot less likely, okay? But Paul George or Tracy McGrady is not that crazy to compare Ace Bailey to. And if you go and look at Paul George's numbers at 18 years old in college and Tracy McGrady's numbers at 18 years old, he came straight out of high school to the NBA. There's a lot of similarities there. So all I'm saying, you're taking Ace Bailey as a development and what he could turn into. The ceiling is crazy. That's why they're that high. So no, I'm not taking Jeremiah Fears at number 3. I don't know how you would trade to number 2 to get Dylan Harper unless the Spurs. That could happen. The number 2 for Dylan Harper thing That could happen. It would give Sixers fans PTSD, first of all, right? Because we did the Markelle Fultz swap when we were at number 3, even though I think the Boston Celtics take Jason Tatum at number 1 overall anyway. But say the San Antonio Spurs want to draft Ace Bailey. They don't want Dylan Harper because they have De'Aaron Fox and Stephen Castle. And say the San Antonio Spurs say, hey, we know you guys would love Dylan Harper on your squad. Trade with us for the number 2. We'll take Ace Bailey at number 3. But then you could say, do the Sixers really want Dylan Harper that much? Like, I would love Dylan Harper, but we have Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain on the team. And Dylan Harper, yeah, he's a 6'6" point guard. I don't know. I don't think that trade's very likely. I think the most likely thing is the 76ers are at number 3 in the draft and they take Ace Bailey at number 3 in the draft. I think there's a 78% chance of that happening.